Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the Coachman apartment building has been put under a fire order, the Trans Mountain Pipeline has undergone yet another delay, and some good news has come to the Sea to Sky region in regards to its flooding situation.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. Yesterday saw the City of Terrace post on their website that a fire order is being issued for the Coachman apartment building located at 4204 Spark Street. The given reason for this order being put into place is due to the building having several violations of both Terrace and BC's fire code that were discovered in an inspection that took place back on January 8th. That building in general has not been in particularly good shape ever since its water pipes froze and broke in late 2022, which resulted in its tenants having to evacuate the building early last year due to black mold, no available running water, and many other safety issues. Now, the current fire order has resulted in everyone needing to leave the building again as it gets secured to prevent any unauthorized entries. A recently released project update has revealed that the Trans Mountain Pipeline is going to be seeing yet another delay in its journey to total completion. The Crown Corporation, given the responsibility of getting this massive project done recently, said that it ran into some technical issues last week during some construction work that is happening inside of BC's Fraser Valley. The corporation had previously planned for the project to be finished close to the end of the first quarter or so. A statement that was made available on the corporation's website has disclosed that they are now working towards finishing the pipeline on another anticipated in-service date that's said to be sometime in the second quarter of this year. Another statement has been sent out by Northern Escape Heliskiing, expressing their condolences to the families of the victims of a recent helicopter crash. Last week saw 4 people die due to a helicopter crash just outside of Terrace, with 3 dying in the crash itself and another later succumbing to their serious injuries. Northern Escape Heliskiing in the statement named pilot Mark McGowan and guide Lewis Einsworth as their 2 employees who tragically passed on due to the crash. As for the official cause, the RCMP, Transportation Safety Board, and other authorities are still currently in the midst of trying to figure that out. Word has come out to reveal that BC's Conservative Party has made the choice to name Kitimat businessperson Claire Rattay as their representative that will run for the Skeena riding. The riding is set to open up as Ellis Ross, the MLA for Skeena since 2017, will not be looking to get re-elected as he will move on to the federal Conservative Party so that he could run for the Skeena-Bulkley Valley riding in next year's federal election. Rattay has previously run for a political position a pair of times on the federal level for a seat in Parliament, also for the Conservatives, but she lost out to Taylor Bachrach both times. Rattay has also been touted by the BC Conservatives as a candidate that has previous experience in both politics and business that should serve her well. Coming up next, the Labor Relations Board is dealing with a potential strike. Welcome back. The provincial government is dragging its heels on freedom of information requests that are taking much longer than they ever have before. There are also fewer requests after the NDP imposed a new fee. Those are the findings of a new analysis by the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner. Here's CTV's Penny Daflos with more.
Previously, I've faced long waits, and I continue to do so for information, some of which doesn't actually need to go through that process. And this isn't just an academic or procedural journalistic issue. This is about getting facts about our schools, hospitals, child welfare, all serious issues that affect every one of us and need daylight urgently. Over the last several years, you've seen the results of my FOI requests, every one of which have been delayed and extended and dragged on for months. The Information and Privacy Commissioner's Office found this is a trend, with wait times being the longest in the 13 years it's done an analysis. In many cases, they don't even follow their own rules by requesting extensions from the Commissioner's Office, meaning that government is essentially ignoring the law.
Government knows that it should be complying with its own laws. Otherwise, they're brought into disrepute. And that's how institutions really their validity, where people begin to lose trust and confidence. And I don't think any government, any public body wants to see that.
The Ministry of Health and the one responsible for children in foster care had the most freedom of information requests outside the Premier's office. In many of these cases, they could just provide the information to the person asking rather than take up staff time combing through documents. Now, they're supposed to redact personal or sensitive information only, but they often withhold details that are unflattering to government or leadership. This review just looked at the provincial government, but I can tell you that these long delays and flouting of the rules are common across government bodies. That's particularly problematic in an age of misinformation when government can end up looking like it may be trying to hide information from the public. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
There are more transit concerns with the Labor Relations Board now, who are set to decide whether a threatened strike by transit bus supervisors can be expanded to SkyTrain. CTV's Ben Nesbitt spent the day at a board hearing and is now going to take us through what unfolded.
The union representing the 180 transit supervisors and lawyers representing the Coast Mountain Bus Company, as well as other transit operators, went back and forth all day in what was at times a heated hearing. At one point, the board chair jumping in to cool things down. Essentially, the union is accusing the other transit operators of coming together to create an allyship to help CMBC. QP 4500 has filed an application saying TransLink, West Coast Express, and other transit providers have come together to lessen the impacts on CMBC and ease the public pressure. A claim that West Coast Express called a grand conspiracy with no evidence of allyship. Both TransLink and ProTrans refuted it as well. If the union wins this dispute, they'll be able to extend picket lines to SkyTrain stations. The union for SkyTrain operators has already said its members won't cross picket lines. Here's what transit users had to say about the potential of the strike expanding.
It's going to be a bit of a struggle. I'm a minimum wage worker. I go to work in downtown. I take the train and the bus.
I think it's just awful. It's going to be really hard. They shut it down last week. And I was basically stuck at home. Like, I couldn't go to work. I was at a loss of wages, so it really sucked for me.
We don't get compensation from workplaces, so it can be cabs. The cabs are the only option that day, and it's a super big expense for that day.
I think it's really important to support the unions. Fair wages are really important for people.
A deal from a provincially appointed mediator is expected on Friday. The union says if a deal is not reached by midnight on Friday at 12:01, another strike will begin, this one lasting 3 days. As for the ally application, a response should be filed by the Labor Board by Saturday. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Vancouver.
Now to some good news in the flood fight in the Sea to Sky region, with people that evacuated this week now being allowed to go back home. But dozens of properties remain on evacuation alert. CTV's Ben Milger has more from Pemberton.
High stream flows cascading out of the mountains have the Lillooet River flowing right to the top of its banks, even spilling over in some places in the village of Pemberton. The flooding closed Airport Road for the better part of 2 days, as all properties beyond this point were under evacuation order. That included the local search and rescue base, the town's water treatment plant, and the airport, where the landing strip remains underwater and someone's small plane is still partially submerged. The evacuation order here has since been downgraded to an alert.
We did get a bit of a reprieve. The good news is there was a bit of a stall between rainfall, and it allowed some of our waterways to lower, our canals and our rivers to lower a little bit.
With water still lapping across roadways, dozens of properties remain on evacuation alert. Crews are out in force, shoring up dikes and making temporary repairs to roads and culverts damaged by the rising water. Trouble spots will be monitored hour by hour until the high water recedes.
We don't know how that will go. Unfortunately, we do have experience with flooding in the Pemberton Valley, and so we take this very seriously.
According to the mayor, this type of rapid melt is typically seen in the fall or spring, not the end of January. He says both the provincial and federal emergency preparedness ministers reached out to offer assistance. And once the immediate threat subsides, he'll be looking to them for funding.
We have identified really important infrastructure projects that can help protect against floods, recognizing that this is happening more often at different times of year.
The threat here is far from over, with some areas still underwater and rivers flowing high and fast. It wouldn't take much more rain to cause an even greater flood risk. Ben Milger, CTV News, Pemberton.
Turning to tonight's weather, the north coast is going to likely see some rain or snow with the low near 0 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area is supposed to see periods of rain and their low down at 3 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District should deal with partly cloudy conditions at a low down at -2 degrees. On the north coast, the upcoming week should entail snow first, then mixed sun and clouds before moving towards showers and flurries, with the high moving from 2 to 4 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their week should be made up of periods of rain or snow, then going into some sunny days, before some clouds mix in with the sun, and their high will shift between 5 and -1 degree. And in the Bulkley Valley or Lakes District, the next week or so will also see some rain and flurries to begin, go over to sunny conditions, and then have clouds make their way in as well, while the high bounces from 4 to -5 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections, utility work, fog patches, and maintenance, plus the Usk ferry is out of service and the cable car is in effect. Highway 118 has some slippery sections too, while Highway 37 has some slippery sections as well, while also having black ice as well as various bits of maintenance and even fog patches. 37A has slippery sections, some fog patches on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections of its own. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the View of the Province's highway cams. Still to come is a look at why Canada's fertility rates are down. Welcome back. Now for a shakeup in BC politics, the leader of the Greens is declaring that she's running in an NDP stronghold riding in October's election. The news comes the same day that BC United is releasing its marketing campaign, trying to turn its political fortunes around. CTV's Rob Buffum has the story.
Green Party leader Sonia Furstenau is making a change, running in Victoria Beacon Hill next election, not her current riding in the Cowichan Valley, where she was first elected in 2017. A switch she attributes to family in the capital and a desire to move back there.
Victoria is not only the political heart of BC, it's also where my heart is.
Pundits say the move is likely partly motivated by worries Furstenau was facing an uphill battle after her current riding was divided into 2 new ones with altered boundaries.
The part that you're gaining in the new riding that you're defending is favoring the NDP by a 3-1 margin.
Still, Furstenau is jumping out of the fry pan into the fire. Victoria Beacon Hill is an NDP stronghold, won all but one time by NDP candidates, including Carol James, and presently represented by Grace Lohr, newly minted Minister of Children and Family Development.
I've defied expectations in every election that I've run in. I've won every election I've run in.
The last 2 elections, the NDP have won this riding in a landslide, their candidates getting more than 50% of the vote. Today, folks we spoke with say anything's possible.
Should be good, should be make it more interesting, that's for sure.
I think there's a possibility. Yeah, people are more open.
I'm Kevin Falcon.
Also today, BC United unveiled its election marketing campaign.
That's you.
A $1 million plan aimed at generating brand recognition and turning sagging poll numbers around.
I think it will give people an understanding of what BC United's all about and how important we think it is to get different leadership so we can get different results in British Columbia.
The party has work to do. According to a poll out today, the NDP continue to lead with 46% from decided voters, and BC United is well into third and seemingly not retaining its party's recent support.
They're only holding on to 41% of people who voted for the BC Liberals in 2020 under Andrew Wilkinson.
Of course, BC United and Furstenau both say the only poll that matters will be at the ballot box in 9 months.
Canada's population has been growing at a pace not seen in decades, but the boom is not coming from babies. A new snapshot shows that the fertility rate has hit a new low. CTV's Sarah Plowman reports.
Jessica Peters is preparing for her baby girl, due next week.
We are very excited. It's our first.
Another birth counted into Canada's fertility rate that in 2022 reached an all-time low, with 1.33 births per woman.
And we found that there's been a very clear decreasing trend in fertility in recent years.
A dip in births that began a decade before the pandemic, but accelerated when it hit. Despite an uptick in births in 2021, there was a big drop in 2022, the biggest since the 70s, during the baby bust.
Maybe the pandemic is continuing to have some sort of secondary effects that are influencing people's fertility decisions.
Canadians may be having fewer babies, but the country is still growing, largely due to immigration. Still, a falling fertility rate has consequences.
We have to prepare for population aging over the next couple of decades unless our fertility rates recover.
When it comes to infertility, there are multiple contributing factors.
More and more over the past 2 decades, we've seen women having children later in life. There's also data saying that sperm counts are decreasing.
There's a patchwork of coverage for fertility treatments across provinces, ranging from some to none at all. This infertility specialist wants more attention paid to education.
You spend time thinking about where you're going to live or what you're going to do for your education. And I think we need to do the same thing when it comes to planning for a family.
Peters always knew she wanted a family, but didn't know when, until she met her husband a year and a half ago.
We just decided that getting married, starting a family here would be a beautiful thing.
The drop in birth rate is not unique to Canada. Besides the U.S., it happened in every G7 country. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
In a move that sounds like something from a spy movie, an Ontario man recovered his own vehicle after it was stolen, and it was all thanks to a device that he kept out of plain sight. CTV's John Woodward reports.
They tried to broke this glass first.
This is Aman Sidhu's new Toyota Tundra truck. Electronics ripped out, smashed glass in the back. But despite everything that happened Wednesday, it's still his.
Now I'm happy.
Happy because his Tundra didn't join the surging number of vehicles that thieves take from driveways across the province, taken for resale across the world, with profits pocketed by organized criminals. Some insurers are offering discounts for GPS trackers that can help authorities recover the car. The Insurance Bureau of Canada says these incentives are typically targeted to high-risk vehicles. Participation rates have steadily increased among the owners of high-risk vehicles as insurers offer these incentives. But they may need more than that, Sidhu says. The thieves ripped out the tracker Toyota installed, but the Mississauga mechanic had an ace up his sleeve.
I installed my own GPS in a hidden location that was working. The thieves never think there is another GPS in the car.
So early Wednesday morning, he followed that second signal to a parking lot near Avenue Road and the 401, something that's known as a cooling off location.
When I checked the hood of my car, it was still a little bit hot. It looks like they left the car 10-15 before me.
Cooling off locations are used by these car thieves. It's a location where they take the cars in between theft and maybe their ultimate destination.
Police say they are intercepting some vehicles at cooling off locations and rely on the public to help spot them.
You know your neighborhood. You know what fits and what doesn't fit. And if you see something that looks suspicious, contact police.
Sidhu says all drivers should get some kind of backup system.
So with a $20 for a month fee, I save my vehicle.
And stop thieves from making off with a $100,000 truck. John Woodward, CTV News.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is down 4/100ths of a cent. The price of gold is up $3.70. Oil is down $2.03. Natural gas is down 5 cents. Aluminum is up $5.50. In Toronto, the TSX is up 97.33 points. The Venture Index is up 10.77. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 369.54, and the Nasdaq is up 197.63. Still ahead, the Vancouver Canucks made a major trade with the Calgary Flames. Welcome back. The Vancouver Canucks are on a break ahead of this weekend's All-Star game, but that didn't stop the front office from making a major trade. The Canucks have acquired Calgary Flames forward Elias Lindholm. The 29-year-old Swede is a centerman and will be a free agent after this season ends. Going to Calgary as part of a package will be forward Andrei Kuzmenko. It also comes as the team is rewarding their general manager with a new contract. Cam Mitchell has more in today's Ringside Report.
That goal right there symbolizes the Canucks' entire season. Coming from behind to win, surprising naysayers, and rewarding those that put in the work. On the heels of the Vancouver Canucks giving their president Jim Rutherford a 3-year contract extension earlier this month, on Wednesday, the Canucks gave the same 3-year extension to general manager Patrick Allvin.
I'm very excited and honored to get the opportunity to continue to be the general manager for Vancouver Canucks. Very thankful to the Aquilini family and Jim Rutherford for the trust and belief in me.
The extensions come in a year that have seen the Canucks win at a pace level or better than the group that went to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2011. They have a Norris Trophy candidate in Quinn Hughes, a 30-goal scorer in Brock Besser, and 3 players in the top 10 in league scoring. Plus, they have 5 players and a coach going to the All-Star game. Something to keep in mind, though, when the Canucks get back at it in February.
What I love about what's left on the schedule is that there are so many heavyweight showdowns. They have to play Winnipeg 3 times. They've got to play Vegas 3 more times. They still have Colorado twice, Boston twice. Like, there are so many big games remaining. And in years gone by, I think Canuck fans would have seen a stretch of the schedule like that and thought, uh-oh. And yet, with all the good that the Canucks have done this year, I think they should be excited.
The Canucks are back on the ice February 6th in Carolina. Cam Mitchell, CTV News, Vancouver.
The BC government will be launching new services to crack down on intimate images being shared online without consent while pursuing perpetrators. Premier David Eby said the sharing of fake images of pop star Taylor Swift proved that no one's immune from such attacks. He also said a new law coming into force allows people to go to BC's Civil Resolution Tribunal to ask for their intimate images to be removed, regardless of if they're real or not. Individuals who post another person's intimate images without consent could be fined up to $500 per day if they don't comply with takedown orders, and websites may be fined up to $5,000 a day. The BC government has expanded its secondary suite incentive program to 16 more regional districts in the province. The 3-year pilot program will launch in April with the hope of putting as many as 1,000 more affordable rental units on the market. The latest districts span much of rural BC, including Alberni-Caquot, the Fraser Valley, Sunshine Coast, North Okanagan, and Peace River regions. The program is expected to provide as many as 3,000 homeowners with forgivable loans of up to $40,000, and as long as their new suites are offered at rents below market rates for at least 5 years. That's all of our news for now. From all of us here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.